Hey guys, Barn Geek here again, and I am sitting here on what I consider to be the biggest waste of time project that I've ever done on this farm, and that is a Hugelkultur mound. This one, I was gung-ho excited about these when I heard about these 5 years ago, and so I built one. And I'm going to throw up some pictures to show you just how big Hugelkultur, go big or go home, I had a bobcat skid steer, so I dug out a big old trench, filled it full of wood, covered it up with dirt, soil, and covered it with mulch, planted stuff on it, tried to grow a garden on it, failed. Tried to grow perennials on it, failed. Stuff kept dying. Incredibly frustrating. I do not recommend ever doing one of these. Wood chips is so much easier and so much faster and better. It's just all around better. At least for my environment. I'm in Michigan, central Michigan. I have heavy clay soil and I have woodchucks. I have a chuckload of woodchucks. And I tell you what, those woodchucks, prairie dogs, or whatever you call them in other parts of the country and the world, they were very, very thankful towards me for their new wonderful mansion that I built them called the Hugelkultur Mound. I don't know what the problem is with this. I followed the directions that were on Permies Forum. Built it high like Paul Wheaton said to do. Made it steep like they said to do. Only made sure I had a certain percentage of wood. I don't remember. It's been 5 years ago what it was. Made sure I had the right amount of dirt. Mulched the top. Put cover crop on. Fail. It's terrible. Let me show you some of this. We got a big hole right here. Guess who lives in there? Mr. Woodchuck, are you home? I don't know. Actually, the woodchuck problem's been taken care of. We had a den of foxes living out in the field, so the woodchuck problem has been abated for the most part. So, and we have Great Pyrenees dogs, so we're not worried about the woodchucks with the chickens, or I mean the foxes with the chickens, because those foxes won't dare come close to our yard. So. But let's show you kind of what the wood has done over 5 years, because you'd be kind of curious, right? If you're going to put a Hugelkultur mound in it, does the wood rot away after 5 years? Well, no, not really. Look, it's still here. Not only is it here, it's hard. And you say, oh, well, that looks like it started to rot. Actually, it was that rotted when I put it in 5 years ago. It's almost like putting it in the ground stopped it from rotting. Seriously. These were old barn beams that were rejects that were half rotted. So I'm like, well, we'll put them in here. Epic fail. Alright, so, oh yes, these little guys, ants. Oh, they just love Hugelkultur. Everything they need. It's like you built the mound for them. So yeah, so what comes with ants? Aphids. I think that quite honestly, I think that Hugelkultur has got to be the most hyped, overly hyped technique that I have ever seen. Don't worry, this video is not going to be all anti-Hugelkultur. I put 4 mounds like this in at the time. I went Hugelkultur crazy. And I did have some success. Well, I had 1 mound that was successful, and you'll see that in a minute. I had 2 mounds that were just complete failures. Wasted time and money and effort. If you live anywhere where there's prairie dogs or woodchucks or that type of critter, don't put in a Hugel mound. Just do wood chips. Just do mulch. This was a complete disaster. It's a pain in the butt to try to weed if you got to weed it, because it's so steep and you got to climb up the thing. It's an obstacle. If you want to get around, you have to walk around the thing. It looks really unsightly. It's ugly. And it just doesn't work. I mean, yeah, maybe it'd work on a smaller scale, but it did not work here. So, you know, maybe it would have worked better if I'd have put, you know, yards upon yards of topsoil, you know, brought in compost, you know, a rich compost and put in there. But heck, if I did that, I might as well just put in a bunch of raised beds, you know. Wouldn't have had to dig a hole or put wood in or any of that. I just think that this is just something that you shouldn't waste your time with. I'm just trying to save people time and effort for poor results. You know, I know other people have had success, and that's great. I'm really happy for them, but I think you can have a lot faster success, more long-lasting success, if you just use mulch. If you just use wood chips, straw, whatever, mulch the crap out of your stuff, and your soil will build plant cover crops for that mycorrhizal fungi to grow in, you know, the root system of these plants, and leave the Hugelkultur for the Europeans, for the Germans. It just does not work in this situation. So didn't work for me anyway. But as you can see, this is all dry. I mean, the big selling point of Hugelkultur is that, oh, it keeps moisture in, you know, so you don't have to water so often. Look at all the dust coming out of that. It's like, look at that piece of wood. It's solid. It's been under here for 5 years. 5 years. I could burn that in my fireplace. The moisture content is so low. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, the reason I can find this is I took my bucket on my tractor and dug this up a couple weeks ago. But, and I'm like, when I found it, I'm like, I mean, even if you dig, let's dig down a little bit in here, huh? Let's see what we got. Let's dig into this. Alright, so, what do we got? We got, yeah, kind of rotted wood, but like I said, it was already starting to rot. It's been under here for 5 years. Okay, powdery, dry. Yeah, it was pretty much, I mean, it may have rotted a little bit more, but shoot, I've seen logs laying in the woods rot faster than that. Just laying, you know, down in the woods. I don't know. This is just, to me, a miserable failure. You know, I got chunks of wood in here. A little bit of moisture, but really it's actually rained a lot lately, and it should be a lot wetter than that. I mean, that's a hard chunk of wood right there. That's a hard, you know, look at that. That ain't rotted. Look at this one. Look at that. That is not rotted. Useless. Okay guys, here's number 2 total failure of the Hugelkultur system. There's a little mini mound I did out in the middle of the yard. Called it Blueberry Hill. Planted some blueberries in it and some strawberries. Well, like the other one, the woodchucks got in there. And I have a dog that really likes to chase woodchucks, and she loves to dig stuff up. She likes to dig them up. So, what do you think she did with this when the woodchucks moved in? Yeah, she dug it all up. That's why this wood is exposed. She dug it up, and I had been so frustrated by that time that I didn't bother trying to put it back together because it was basically a failure. I saved what few blueberries and strawberry plants survived out of it, and this year I'm going to rip it out. This, look at it. I just barely shoved my shovel down in there and it's stuck. I mean, that wood is so hard that it's stuck in there. This has been in there for 5 years. 5 years. And that's all it's rotted? How long are you going to have to wait to see any benefit from that? 30 years? 40? I don't think it's worth it. I mean, if I'm not, I don't know about you, but I like to see results a little quicker than 40 years, 30 years. You know, so I like to use wood chips. Wood chips, I get results maybe not the first year, but I get them the second, and then they just keep getting better every year. And but Hugelkultur, forget it. Forget it. If people are having success, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they're doing a raised mound, raised bed with mulch on top. I don't think the wood underneath the ground has any positive effect at all. But that's just my opinion based on failed experiments and on my own property. So again, my money goes towards Back to Eden Garden, wood chips, tried and true method, Hugelkulturs for the birds, literally. Well, more like for the woodchucks. This is a Rugal Mound that actually worked out pretty well for me. I've got two. I put in four about 5 years ago now. And I planted blueberries in this one. Maybe it was 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago for this one. And I finally, after 4 years, have blueberries. And I put exclusively pine wood in this mound and covered it with just topsoil that was here that I dug out. And it's just a real short mound. It's not like the big one, the big epic failure. But this mound is doing pretty good. I mean, considering I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. I've got 6 blueberry plants in this mound that survived. I had about a dozen in here. Half of them died. He got taken over by wild raspberries. And honest with you, the growth isn't that much better than everywhere else around. So I guess it's not really a fail or a success as much of it's not as much of a miserable failure as the rest of the Hugelkultur mounds, except for one. Save one. We had one Hugelkultur mound that is a smashing success, and I think it has a lot more to do with the fact that it's where it's located than the fact of it being a Hugelkultur mound. Just the fact that it blocks water, it redirects water. So, but anyway, we'll go over that mound and you can check that out. Looks like I got some wild raspberries down there I'm going to munch on on the way over. Man, jackpot. Look at this. Now this is strange because these raspberries have been really pitifully producing. They're really small raspberries. usually, and quite pathetic, like that one over there. You know, usually one on a vine, you know, and one very small one. But this one, holy cow! Eat this dark one here. The dark ones are usually real good. Oh yeah. I think these might be a hybrid. They taste kind of like a blackcap. I think these are hybrid blackcap red raspberry, because they taste like blackcaps, and they're getting dark colored. But it's ripe, you know. It's peels right off. It's like a purple berry, huh? They're pretty good. Yeah, they taste. It's exactly what they taste like. It tastes like you put a raspberry and a blackcap in your mouth. That's crazy. And they're shaped like more like a blackcap than a raspberry. Yeah, they look a lot like a blackcap, but they're red, like a raspberry. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to save this plant. Yep. Wow, that's cool. New discovery. A wild hybrid. And I can't take credit for any of this because birds planted the raspberries and birds planted the blackcaps, so yeah. That's pretty interesting. Look forward to some videos on that in the future. I'm gonna have to isolate this plant and then maybe get some baby canes off of it, or do some cuttings, do some grafts. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, no, grafts. I'm going to do some root cuttings, or some cuttings and root some of these berries. I got to mark this vine, or this plant, this cane, so I could do that. So here it is, guys, our one Hugelkultur success, and there's a very good reason for that. What I'm standing in is kind of a bowl where water always collected. So I figured water from off this road that you see right here would come down from that direction and flood our yard right here. So we put a Rugal Mound as a dam to kind of redirect the water out towards the woods, where it flows down quite a long collection area over on the neighbor's property and down back into my woods and to the creek. But this has been always wet, so we put this Rugal Mound here, and it has kept this spot dry in our yard. So that was a great success with the Rugal Mound keeping our yard dry. What's happening is the water is reflecting around the back of the Rugal Mound and going out towards the neighbors and then down into our woods. But it's also wicking up all that water, a lot of that water, into the Rugal bed, and creating amazing growth with the lilies you see behind me and the blackcaps. And there's a couple trees, like this tree right here is only, I think it's about a year old. It's an elm, so usually they only grow just a few inches a year, so that's pretty fantastic. But you can see we got a lot of stuff growing in here, a lot of lilies, which lilies love ditches and water, so there's no surprise that it's doing well. There's irises growing in here as well, along with, like I said, elm tree and various other flowers that my wife has planted in here. She's like, oh, when I did the original Rugal Mound 5 years ago, she says, I would like one right over there for flowers. I said, oh, okay. So I threw it up. And here's an ash tree that's doing pretty well, growing out of here. And look at these wild blackcaps that grow in here. Having another snack. Oh, I love berry season. So good, so good. Oh, that one didn't want to come off. Still tasty. Look how juicy those are. And they're big too. I mean, blackcaps aren't usually that big. So, if you're going to plant a hugel mound, or you're going to make a hugel mound, build it in the right spot. Build it where it can harvest water and work for you. Oh, these blackberries are awesome. But I wouldn't, even after this success, I've had much more success with just wood chips. And it's a lot less work, so that's what I would recommend. I think those are elderberries back there. No, they're not. Nope, they are not elderberries. Okay.